Have you ever seen one of those parkour videos and just thought, how is that even possible? I mean, these athletes leap across rooftops, they scale walls, they basically defy gravity in a way that looks like it's straight out of an action movie. But what if I told you the most incredible part isn't the jump itself, but how one person's impossible leap can unlock this massive wave of innovation across the entire world? Okay, let's get into it. You know, in the world of parkour, some achievements are way more than just a physical thing. They become legends. A single perfect jump can become so iconic that, yeah, people will literally talk about it for years. It becomes a part of the community's shared story, almost like folklore. So, this gets us to this amazing idea called breaking the jump. This is that one moment, that pivotal moment when an athlete finally does what everyone else thought was impossible. And it's not just a personal win. It fundamentally changes the reality of what the entire community believes can be done. Now, the person who first breaks that jump, they're not part of some big coordinated plan. They're performing what's known as an autonomous act. It's a totally independent decision, right? It's born from their own skill, their own assessment of the risk, and just sheer courage. It's one person, all alone, deciding to go for it. And this is where the real puzzle starts. How does one person's lonely act of bravery, with no leader, nor organization, no instructions, how does that spark this incredible cascade of creativity and innovation across a global community? How does that idea spread and evolve so ridiculously fast? Because here's the thing. After a jump is broken, something truly amazing happens. It kicks off what we can call a community cascade. See, the community doesn't just copy the jump. Oh no, that's only the very beginning. And this is the crucial point. Once that mental barrier is just shattered, athletes everywhere don't just repeat it, they build on it. They start adding flips, new combinations, crazy variations. The original impossible jump just becomes the new starting line, and the entire sport gets leveled up with much harder tricks. So what's the secret here? What is this invisible force that's coordinating all this incredible leaderless progress? It honestly looks like magic, but it's not. Turns out, there's a scientific theory that explains it perfectly. And the answer is a concept called Stigmergy Network Theory, which was developed by Dr. Marvin Starminsky-Uehara. Now, I know, it sounds super complex, but trust me, the idea behind it is incredibly elegant and it's happening all around us all the time. So what is Stigmergy? To put it really simply, it's a way for a group to work together without talking to each other directly. Instead, one person's action leaves a trace in the environment, and that trace acts like a signal, a clue that inspires the next person's action. A classic example, think of ants following a pheromone trail. The first ant leaves a trail, and the others just follow it. No one's giving orders, they're just following the traces. Okay, so we've got the theory, now let's plug it directly back into our parkour example. This is where it all just clicks into place. And check this out, it lines up perfectly. That first person's impossible jump, that's the autonomous act. The videos, the photos, the stories that people tell for years, those are the traces left behind. And the parkour communities, both online and in real life, that's the domain, the place where all these traces actually have meaning. Let's just focus on this idea of the trace for a second, because it is absolutely the key to how all of this works. The trace is the evidence. It's the proof left behind that shows something is possible. And, just as important, it shows others the way. In parkour, these traces are everywhere. A viral video on YouTube is a super powerful trace. A photo on Instagram? That's a trace. But it's also the stories people share at the gym, the community's collective memory of some legendary feat. And yeah, even those conversations that go on for years, they are all signals that literally modify the environment. But look, a trace doesn't mean anything in a vacuum. It needs context. It needs a place where it can be seen and understood by people who get it. In Stigmergy, this context is called the domain. So the domain for parkour includes the entire global community, both physical and digital. It's the local groups that meet up in cities, but it's also the online forums and social media platforms. It can even be a specific physical place, like the famous IMAX spot in London, a location that holds all this meaning and history for the community. So here's the whole blueprint, the cascading effect laid out. It all starts with that one breakthrough, the autonomous act. Then, step 2, that act leaves a trace. It gets filmed, it gets shared. Step 3 is the magic moment, inspiration. The mental barrier for everybody else is just gone. The impossible becomes possible. And that unleashes the final step, the cascade, where the entire community just explodes with new ideas and innovation. So you might be wondering, why spend all this time on one parkour jump? Well, because this pattern, this whole stigmergic process, is a fundamental blueprint for how progress happens everywhere, in science, in art, in open source software, even in social movements. It's a model for leaderless coordination. When you really boil it all down, the crucial point is this. Stigmergy is the engine of collective intelligence. It's the mechanism that allows a group of individuals, all acting independently, to create something way bigger, way smarter, and more complex than any single person could have ever come up with on their own. So what are the big things to take away from this? First, that groups can achieve incredible things without any central leader telling them what to do. Second, our actions leave behind these traces that guide what other people do next. Third, the environment itself, whether it's a city or a website, becomes the tool for communication. And finally, this isn't some rare, abstract idea. It is happening all around us, constantly, in both our physical and our digital lives. And that leaves us with one final thought. The same principles that allow one person to break a jump and inspire a global movement, well, they're at play in your field, your community, your life, right now. So the real question is, what impossible jump is out there, in your world, just waiting for one autonomous act to change everything?